This is the Hijak Ruston, and this is the only car from this week's shockingly bad GTA Online weekly update that is interesting enough to do a lap in and that hasn't already been lapped by me at some point. So let's see if we can sort that out for you now. As I waited forever for it to get light so I could do a lap that you could actually see, and as soon as I started, it started raining, I thought this would be a really good time to see if I can put some data behind the wet weather in GTA Online, and let's have a look at how much effect the wet weather really has on your lap times. So if we bring in the second video, and let's crack on. So this is based on the it's based on this, and as you can see, it's a roofless track day monster, and it's actually not a bad looking one. The best car in the game to compare this to is probably gonna be the Ocelot Locust. That's another sort of track day inspired car, and they both drive how you would expect them to. Really quick off the mark, really sharp handling, but a very limited top speed. And you can see as I'm going through the city, the handling on this thing is brilliant. A lot of that is down to the weight, because this thing is really light. I swear I've done farts that are heavier than this thing, so the turning is so quick. But that does have disadvantages in that because it's so light, it gets thrown about. You can end up doing all sorts of weird flips just from clipping a curb wrong. It also makes it a little bit twitchy, but it's twitchy in a controllable way, and I've got to say that makes this thing a lot of fun to drive. I really do like driving this thing. It's not great news when it comes to customization, because there isn't really much. Again, if we compare this to the Locust, you have a decent number of liveries for the Locust, and you have quite a few things that you can do with it. With this, you've got a few different front ends and a couple of spoilers, but that's about it. You can't really do all that much with it. But it's not a bad looking car, but it would be nice to get a little bit more customization with it. So let's have a look at the top speed. So we've got them both side by side. Obviously the wet weather version on the left, and this is where I've got my measured mile that I drive as quickly as possible, and at the end I do a little bit of simple maths, and that tells you how quick they are. And this is something that I've always wondered, because it's difficult to tell whether the wet weather affects top speed. Obviously it affects handling, but I was never sure whether the increased drag actually affects your top speed or not. And here's what they both managed to do. So the wet weather verdict is pretty good. Some cars, you look at things like the Sterling GT, they are almost impossible to drive in the wet, but this thing is still really good. I'm not sure what the final time's going to be, but we'll find that out pretty soon. So as we head round here, let's have a look at final thoughts and review. So all through this video I've been comparing this to the Ocelot Locust, and there's one other area that it is quite important to compare them. Now this is a deleted car, and it's available this week for just under 500,000, whereas the Locust is over 3 times more expensive than that, at 1.6 million. Now that's a huge difference, and if you look at the lap time, and if you look at the way they drive and the way they handle, there really isn't much in it at all. So do I recommend them, or do I recommend this one? Well, if you're comparing the two based on performance and you have plenty of money, you have to say that the Locust is slightly better. I also think the Locust is slightly better looking. However, you can't ignore the fact that the Locust is 3 times more expensive, and at 400,000 for this one, that really isn't a lot of money for a car in GTA Online. So as we just head over this bridge, we'll see what the final time is. Well, that didn't go exactly how I planned it. Right, okay, let's do another lap. Right, there we go. Anyway, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, do I recommend this? Do you know what? I think I probably do. Based on the cost, I think I have to. I was originally not going to, but then you look at the cost and you just can't ignore the fact that this is an incredibly cheap car and it drives so fantastically well. So here's the final time for the wet and the dry lap. And here's where everything sits on the leaderboard. So thank you so much for watching. Welcome to all my new subscribers. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this, dislike if you didn't. Please do consider joining the channel, and I will see you all on the next one.